Hi guys, I'm OG and this is Gigi.
And this is Life Radically Redefined.
Today's gonna be a little different. I will be off the couch and behind the camera. So the person behind the camera will be where I'm sitting today. It's gonna be a special episode.
Right, where we get to interview Cerina Spence. Now, you've seen us shout out Cerina for all of the hard work she does behind the scenes. Today, she's stepping from behind the camera.
Oh yes.
She's going to take a seat on the couch, and we are going to just deep dive, jump in, and talk. So join us. Guys, get your water, your coffee,
tea.
your wine.
Oh yes.
Right? Because, yeah, wine. So please sit down and enjoy it. And before we forget,
Happy New Year.
Make 2021 your best year yet. Last year doesn't matter.
It does not matter.
Right? Every day you have an opportunity to get up and do the thing. So go out there, you guys, and do your thing.
Be blessed, be a blessing. On this journey called life, you will definitely encounter the unexpected.
Sometimes you'll laugh, sometimes you'll cry, but in the end, if you have someone that will take your hand and walk through it with you, it makes everything better.
You get to make all kinds of discoveries along the way. Some about yourself, some about others. We made some and we just want to share it with you.
So we invite you to just listen, ask questions, make your own discoveries.
Pour your coffee, tea, or whatever you prefer. Settle in and let's talk about dating, courting, marriage, and life.
OG and Gigi, Life Radically Redefined. Hey guys, welcome back. As promised, OG has been replaced on the couch by the beautiful Cerina Spence. We are going to get started right away, and I'm going to just ask you, Cerina, tell everyone about yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Okay, well, hi everyone. Welcome to the OG and Gigi show. I have been executive producing this show for the last 6 episodes, so welcome to season 2.
Yes.
Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for having us.
I know Tanya has a ton of questions for me as to where we got this concept and why I was really excited to produce this show. I love producing podcasts for my clients. I have Millennial Mogul Marketing, which is a digital agency, and we do tons of content. And so the show is one of those types of content. And my intention is to always help people and educate people through this type of media. So I'm so happy for the viewers and the listeners that are hopefully learning how to have better relationships.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So when we first talked about doing this show, you were super excited. You really ignited us even more than we already were. Why were you so excited about it?
Okay, so internally, before we had lunch that day, I just really wanted clarity on how to communicate better and how to have healthy relationships with friends, with family. And I felt like the only reference I had was maybe Ilanya, Fix My Life, right? Which is a little abrasive to learn relationships from. But I really was looking and reading books on stuff like that,
Right.
because I feel like I didn't have enough resources. You know, all we have as millennials is love and hip hop. And, you know, being traumatized by that.
I'm going to jump in there. I actually saw, because I'd never seen the show until you told us about it. So I watched a couple clips of Love and Hip Hop, and I was terrified.
Yes.
That was the point of reference that we're using for relationships and how to communicate, even how to communicate and interact as women.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
But that's exactly what I was faced with. I was exposed to love and hip hop culture from like 15, 16 in high school. So imagine that's 10 years of being groomed and being taught how to communicate from a fantasy show, right? So after living a love and hip hop life, right, I'm like, okay, I need more clarity on how to make this better, how to have like a more holy, godly relationship. What does that look like? And so when they started telling me their ideas based on their foundation, based on their stories, based on their anecdotes, like all of your testimonies, really, I was like, this is amazing. You know, God has given me an opportunity to produce something that can not only help me, but I know all millennials, all of the future generations can change the way that we communicate if we have media to teach us.
Right.
And that's where I got really excited.
That is
really
awesome.
excited.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is our 6th episode. So what episode has been your favorite so far?
The episode that's really amazing for me is the red flag episode. Really just because I always think back to that episode and I hear that voice of like, are you betraying yourself?
Oh, that part.
Are you
Listen,
betraying yourself in this
ladies
moment?
and gentlemen,
Yeah.
that is such like that question you have to ask yourself, that not just in relationships but in general in life and things that you're going through, in whatever the case is. You have to say to yourself, if someone presents an opportunity and you're not into that opportunity, if you say yes to it, you have to ask yourself, am I betraying myself in this moment?
Yeah, in every moment to me, because that episode talks about like how to set boundaries with people, and if they're willing to cross boundaries early and you allow them to, they betrayed you and you betrayed yourself. And then now, like for me, that was something that could apply to every relationship.
Right. Because then what happens is you end up harboring resentment.
Yeah. And it just kills your joy,
Right.
because now you're reflecting on holding in something that could have easily been adjusted through communication. And I think so much of us repress things. You know, we have cancel culture where people just get cut off because we're not communicating,
Right.
or stuff like that. And so that episode really rings true with me.
Okay.
So I think, hey, how do I really feel about this? And then once I evaluate that, if I'm saying anything that's not truly like protecting myself or expressing how I feel, something's not right, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I totally agree with that. All right. So, as we're, through the 6 episodes that we've done, share 3 aha moments or 3 key takeaways that just kind of resonate with you even more. I know we talked about the red flag episode and not betraying yourself.
Yeah. For me, something that I use right now, especially, with dating or talking to someone, is making sure God's in the equation, or some sort of vision is in the equation, or higher power, or third party, right? So that could be God, that can be prayer, that can be a business, that could be something that's a vision that keeps you tethered to a higher mission.
Right.
Because if you have a fruitful relationship, there's something coming from it. Friendships, business partnerships, marriage. And I feel like the least fulfilling relationships are where you looked up, you were spending 10 years with someone and nothing was manifested.
Right.
And nothing came into fruition.
Right.
So that's for starters. It helps me like take stock of every relationship, because that's time you're not going to get back if
Right.
it's not intentional.
Right. And I think that's key, because time is an investment, and time, even more than money, is a major investment. You can make and lose money all day long, every hour of the day, right? You can invest and the stock market changes and it drops, or if you're investing in Forex, you can make money and then lose money and then make it back. But the time, like the day, this moment, is not happening again. So if you're in a relationship with someone and you're not building and you're not growing and you're not communicating and things just aren't happening, then what are you doing?
It's complete stagnation, and it's just not fruitful. And
Right.
Everything you do is supposed to be fruitful, or
Absolutely.
it's cursed in a sense, right?
Right.
So that's what I've learned. I've also learned about vetting people, which can only be done properly through communication
Mhm.
and asking questions. You guys said something on an episode where you kind of admitted that people don't ask questions because they don't really want to know the answers.
Mhm.
And they love that irresponsibility of not knowing or
Right.
not having clarity. And I just don't want to live like that anymore. Like, I don't want to live in a place of I'm irresponsible, so I have grace because I didn't ask that question.
Right. What's interesting about that point is that, if you don't know that a law exists and you break that law, you are still responsible for having broken that law.
You're still held
You have
accountable.
still committed a crime, right? So it's just as criminal to not ask questions in a relationship,
Yeah.
simply because you're afraid to know the answer.
Mhm.
Why would you be afraid to know the answer to something that could potentially impact your life? right? So that you have the freedom of saying, well, I didn't know. That's so unfair to yourself.
To yourself, it's back to the responsibility.
Self-betrayal.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
back to, it's back to your self-image and your self-worth as well, which is something that people don't see it that way, but I do, because I now have to grow a business and I notice what's stopping me from growing. And if my self-worth and self-image don't align with where I want my business to be, that is what's keeping me out of alignment of just manifesting it into fruition.
Right.
And it could be a little intense to people because they want to pretend their life is compartmentalized and things are not what they are.
Mm-hmm.
But because I am my business and we're one and the same, I feel like when I assert myself in relationships and get the respect that I deserve out of just dating somebody,
mm-hmm.
I can assert myself in a meeting. I can assert myself in a closing. I can assert myself in every interaction.
Right.
But on the other hand, if I'm being abused or I feel lower or being like I'm treated lower than I'm meant to be treated,
mm-hmm.
I'm timid in a closing. I'm timid in an interaction with a deal.
Right.
And that means a lot to me. So I learned a lot about myself during the show.
We talked. We had one night after a show, we were talking, and we had the same exact conversation about how, let's say you're married, and you're married and you're a business owner or a high-powered executive or whatever it is, right? So on one hand, there's this expectation, right? When you're in the boardroom, you're making deals and you need to be on top of everything, see the details, get the respect in order to get the money, right? But then you go home and you're belittled and you're treated very poorly and you're not appreciated. That's problematic because those two people cannot exist in the same space. Those two people, it's just there's incongruence there, right? So
cognitive dissonance,
exactly,
like we talk about.
Exactly. So, but you have to align yourself completely. You have to be true to yourself, and sometimes that means like having hard conversations with yourself about things that you want to change. So even as a grown woman, like of a certain age, there's still things that I confront daily about myself. And I'm like, wow, I need to change that. And I need to change it, not just because it sounds good, but because I know my life will be elevated because of it.
100%.
That's it.
Yeah, so I don't know if that answered the question, but I think that is a few things that helped me really take away from the show and immediately implement in my life.
Excellent.
Yeah. Well, I know we have to go to commercial break because I switched places with OG today, and he is letting us know it's time
by
for
flapping
commercial.
his arms.
Yes,
a
it
lot,
is.
And I got confused.
Well, I'm here to keep us on track, guys.
Yes.
So as guest and producer today.
I know, even in front of the camera, she's still doing the thing. So listen, we're going to take a commercial break. We're going to be gone for about 2 minutes, and then we're going to come back. We'll have more questions and answers with Cerina, more time on the couch. And OG, take us to commercial.
Thanks for tuning in to Oji and Gigi. Be sure to visit our website, ojiandgigi.com, and place your order for our Date or Dare cards.
You want a long-term relationship, but is that true for the person you're dating?
Ask those deep questions and dig way beneath the surface to uncover who you're sitting across from.
And we wouldn't be us if there wasn't an element of fun in this deck.
So, Date or Dare.
Comment, like, and subscribe to remain connected. Hey, G's!
Thanks for tuning in into OJ and Gigi. Be sure to visit our website, ojandgigi.com, and create your account to access your free vetting checklist.
If you are in a relationship currently, the checklist may affirm that your relationship is on the right track.
That's right. And may also spark some conversation to get you where you want to be.
So comment, like, and subscribe to remain connected.
So you're single, but are you sure you're ready to mingle? We have just what you need to answer that question.
Our dating readiness assessment is on sale for $10 on our website, and it's available for immediate download.
You owe it to your current self and your future self to take a deep dive into who you are, who you want to be, and who you want to spend the rest of your life with.
So visit www.ogandgigi.com and click shop to get your copy.
The new year is just around the corner, but we are not setting any New Year's resolutions.
That's right, OG. We are anti-New Year's resolution. Instead, we are all about designing your own amazing life, starting whenever you want.
And that's right. For a limited time, our goal-setting workbook is available for a free download at ogandgigi.com.
So instead of setting a New Year's resolution, we invite you to make it your goal to radically redefine your life.
As we always say, be blessed and be a blessing.
Hey guys, we are back. So we've got Cerina and we've got a few more questions for you.
Yes.
Thank you again for doing this. I
I'm
love having you on the couch.
I'm happy, and I had 6 episodes to learn, apply, and grow. So I'm like, in 2021, let's share these testimonies.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
So before we went to break, we were talking about how we've had conversations about how you've gone back to your family with
Yeah.
some of the things you picked up from us.
Yeah.
So tell me about the conversations with your family,
Yeah.
how what you had to say was received, and what impact it's had to date.
There's so many levels I can say that we've had these family discussions about relationships, because I have so many different type of siblings. So let's start there. I have my 25-year-old brother who basically could be like a player, right? So he never advises me to date anyone because in his player mind, everyone's dangerous. So that's a start. I bring some of my concepts from the show to him, and even it kind of helps him see that he's not operating in his higher power with relationships. He might be, doing things that don't add value to his life or whatever. The same goes for another brother that I had. We talked about self-worth, and we talked about his business. He's an entrepreneur, and we talked about if he's dating someone that belittles him, it affects how his self-worth is projected through his business.
Absolutely.
And he sees that his prosperity declines based on how he allows people to treat him in relationships. And we just had that discussion going into the new year. So for me, not only does the show help me communicate better with my family, because we all had no real guidance due to our parents not always being married and all their relationship woes. So now that I can communicate with information, it levels up the whole family, because now we can at least have a perspective of maybe the things we know weren't the most conducive to our future in some way, when everyone is affected in different ways. So that's a start.
Right.
That's a start. And I think my siblings matter, since we're the ones that are like the future.
Right.
So,
Absolutely. But
yeah.
I think though that I think it's great that when one person gets information, it doesn't only impact that one person, right? There's a ripple effect, a butterfly effect, if you will, where this person, Cerina, has now said, wow, this is a new concept that I've been introduced to, and now siblings, I want to introduce it to you. And just to start the conversation and have people just thinking about doing things in a different way.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. And that doesn't mean that like we have all the answers. We're kind of clear about not having all the answers and having grown into where we are now by really being diligent about our marriage, because we felt like we needed this help just going into marriage, right? Because again, you look around and there aren't a ton of examples. So I'm glad that happened. So
it definitely helped. It helped, and even though it's a tough conversation, because for me, all we're talking about is self-worth at the core, right? Of the vetting and of the assessments. Like, it's about your self-worth, your self-image, and your goals for your life. And then you add a person to that equation. And I think everyone has this cognitive dissonance when you ask them, what is your self-worth when you maintain an unhealthy relationship? What is your self-worth when you allow certain behaviors that affect your self-worth? Like, no one wants to talk about that. So there's some backlash, there's some resistance. But it's because I'm excited to get through that resistance, I'll be the one that has to be the torch bearer or whatever. But this information hopefully will ripple through, like you said.
Absolutely. And I believe it will. I think it just goes back to that one self-betrayal, right? We have to make a decision, and that's really what it is. It's just a choice, right? You're on this road, and you have a choice to either betray myself or not. That's it. And it also, like, unhealthy relationships lead to us believing and repeating unhealthy stereotypes, right?
Yeah.
So, like, how many times have we all heard all men cheat? No, not all men cheat, one. And two, why would that be okay if they did? Like, why would you say to yourself, that's acceptable to me because all men do it?
Yeah. It's manipulation of yourself to make sense of trauma.
Right.
And that's just what it is. So,
right.
Gunshot there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's what I've learned 100%. It's like, how do you raise your self-worth to challenge those stereotypes?
Yes.
And then challenge yourself to attract different or better.
Do you find that it's easy to do it?
No, because now you have to ask whatever your spiritual belief system, you have to ask them for guidance, God, whatever, to help you have the love and the self-image that will help you create boundaries or cut you off from toxic soul ties.
Mm-hmm.
That's really all you're dealing with. And yes, soul ties can be addictive. They can be toxic. They can be self-perpetuating due to you not having self-love.
Right.
So now you have to go so deep to figure out, like, how to really love yourself.
Right.
That's harder.
That is harder.
How to accept myself.
Exactly. And that's just it. I think that's why I asked that question, because, I can come across as like, just do this. But it's not just do that, right? When I was doing, like, the different things that I needed to do, it was hard as heck, because there's like resistance from yourself internally, because you feel like, no, this is the way it's done. Everyone's doing this. This is the way I've always done it. But if everything that you've always done is yielding something that is not serving you, then what's the point? Like, you want to be able to live and love and be, enjoy.
And like something that's a precursor to you and I even having lunch before the show.
Yeah.
I was reading Sacred Woman by Queen Afua. And for everyone watching, I know there's a lot of you guys who may know who Queen Afua is, and Sacred Woman, which is this book about how to clean yourself, cleanse yourself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, become more alkaline, eat more of the right fruits so you can detox your mind and lift your self-worth so you can attract a better relationship, a better lifestyle, a better income, like all those things.
Right.
So I was already doing that work when you guys came with this idea. So maybe that's why I was receptive. Maybe that's why I didn't have as much of an ego to, I know what I'm doing in relationships, like, who cares? You know what I mean? And maybe I was, humble enough to say, I need to heal in this area.
Right.
Let's dive in and, like, do this show. So I think that's where I'm at with it. And hopefully people who are listening have enough grace for themselves to want to take the journey to heal.
Absolutely.
Like, that's really where we're at, right?
It is.
Yeah.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
So we've talked, even today, we've talked about your journey through all of this, right? Yeah. And one of our earlier episodes, we talked about dating and vetting and the importance of vetting. So how has the show changed the way that you vet potential partners?
For starters, asking the questions I wouldn't ask just because I didn't want to scare someone off. Like, for millennials, I'm talking to you guys, TV teaches us that the man who's the prize for some reason, let's be real with ladies, you see the woman eating tubs of ice cream because she didn't get a call back. So they already teach you to be hypersensitive, to don't scare him off. But what that does is it makes him the catch, and then it makes you afraid to communicate because you don't want to scare off a bad catch. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Sometimes you just got to take the fish off the line and throw the whole fish back.
Right. So they show that the first date she asked really pressing questions, which you should not be afraid to ask if you're seriously looking to date somebody. And then next thing you know, you're waiting 5 months to learn something you could have learned a lot earlier. Like, major issues at that, not like small things. So I realized through that, like, be able to ask the right questions with no fear, because you're playing yourself. Like, you're gonna catch feelings. You're gonna get deep into something that you now have a shallow understanding of.
Right.
So that's step one, asking like deeper questions. Then knowing yourself. What I've come to find now is I want to be very financially stable and have a legacy to leave my children. If not, I'm not going to have children because I'm not valuable enough, in my opinion, to have children because I'm not going to add any value. So now I look for a partner who's speaking like that, because I've already seen fathers who don't care to leave legacies at all for their children. And that's a lot of the single parent households that we see today. So if that's not my desire either, I need a father, husband that is like super into legacy building as his earthly mission.
Right.
And if I don't hear that in their verbiage, we may not have the same intent, which means we don't have the same vision, which means I probably wouldn't want to have a long-term relationship with them.
Right.
But I wasn't honest with myself in the past about that. So
all right. So that's amazing. First of all, I think that there's a level of openness, transparency, and self-awareness that you have that a lot of us don't have, even as it relates to, like, you know, people who are older. I think that there is value in living the most genuine and most authentic way you can, right? Being your most authentic self. And in order to do that, it means you have to be true to yourself, right?
And know yourself.
And know yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that, I think both men and women nowadays are given very bad information about each other, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, men might sit in a group and think this, that, and who knows what else about women, and women sit over here and we think this, that, and who knows what else
Judge
about men. And
yeah.
then in this day and age, like I think one of the things we also discussed was dating apps, right? So if you're on a dating app and the person that you match with, it says that they are matched with you because they're looking for a long-term, you know, committed relationship. Yeah. And then you meet the person and you don't hold them to the standard that they said. They said, I am looking for this. But then they kind of lowball you with something else, and you accept that. That's not all on them.
That's true. Yeah, you have to communicate what you're looking for as well.
And then be true to it.
To be so true to it as well. And I feel like I was able to walk away from opportunities so much quicker because when I asked certain questions, I no longer was at fear of losing them. And I got rid of that spell that was on me from Hollywood that if I speak too much, I will lose them. And I'm okay with losing them. I'm trying to wean them out almost, like, you know, vet them down. So I'll say, I'm interested in wealth building, this, that, fidelity, monogamy, and, you know, vision. If they look at me like, oh man, they're not equally yoked. Like, they had different intentions, whatever they may have been. So that just helps me have peace when I walk away versus, dang, I really wanted him to like me. Like women, you know that. You know that feeling.
Right, but why? And that's just, but that you've gotten to the, I don't need him to like me. Because he is not the person that I want to like me. Yeah. Like, you would have a different reaction if it was someone who, like, you melded with, like, mentally, and they had the same goals and dreams. It would just be very, you know.
Our heart and minds being knitted together is kind of what I'm looking for. And I think when you communicate, because I know who I am, you know who you are, and there's the same trigger words in a positive way, like wealth, legacy, happiness, fulfillment. You hear them speaking like that.
Vision,
you see yourself in them, and now there's more of a real connection than, oh, he looks good, she looks good. We'll take good Instagram pictures together. You know, like, that's the new standard now is, can we be a YouTube couple? Like, there's no real depth in vetting someone.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
You know how that is. Are we going to look cute together? Are we going to make cute kids together? And then there's no other vetting deeper than that, you know? So, yeah, I think that's something to really focus on. And I will say it helps me also identify a good match because now I'm, like, happy. You know, I'm like, oh, we have the same vision. Based on what I wrote down in my assessment, they're saying the same things.
So
right?
You know what? I love that you made use of the assessment, right? So tell us how the assessment helped you, and then tell us how it helps you to identify the lovely young man. And yes, I said lovely. He's a lovely young man. That you're see the smile. First of all, this glow, this smile, this kind of you're really a different woman. Like, I mean, I've always found you to be phenomenal, but there is a difference. There's a glow, there's a peace, there's a knowing, there's a, you know, when you talk about this person, there is more, not even
it's
just
alignment with what I learned from this show. That's where I'm at, guys. what I learned from this show has immediately aligned with meeting this person in the timeline of it.
Mhm.
It's like I had to elevate, and God gave me 6 weeks, six great weeks, to kind of get prepared for me to become who I needed to be, which is what the assessment has done. It's
Tell
like,
us
am
about
I
the
even a
assessment.
match to the person I claim I want?
Right. Tell
That's
us
number
about
one.
that.
I think the thing that helped me was more the lifestyle questions
Mhm.
as to what lifestyle did I see myself having singularly. And then I could really, compare and contrast another person's lifestyle and if we would have the same one when kids came into the picture,
Right.
period.
Right.
Like certain things that I wouldn't even think about, but the assessment made me think about is I always wanted to have a laptop lifestyle, which I'm kind of getting closer to every day,
Right.
which is amazing due to digital marketing. But a huge thing was RV. I always wanted a tiny house or an RV so I could travel the world for a few months or travel the nation for a few months and be on the road, use my laptop to do what I wanted to do, but have the comfort, of the RV and kind of buy property. And it was just a dream for like 6 years that was in the back of my head to
Right.
do. And when I'm talking to my, person I'm dating, they're saying, how do you feel about RVs? I really want to travel the world for a few months and buy just
Amazing.
out of the book completely, right out of the assessment,
Mhm.
word for word, saying exactly what I defined as a part of the experience for me.
Mhm.
And things like that become divine, like confirmations. You can't really
Absolutely.
orchestrate it, but you have to know yourself enough to even be in alignment when you hear it.
Absolutely.
So that is what helped me with the assessment. It's like being on track with myself so that when the mirror of me came or my compliment
Mhm.
showed up,
Mhm.
I'm like, oh my goodness.
That's him.
Like, you can't make this up. You didn't read. Did you read my assessment? Did you
Right.
read my diary type of thing? So yeah, that's what I like about it.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. So we created this assessment where it's not just you asking like what you want this person to look like, right? So the first half of the assessment is really you turning the mirror on you and saying, okay, this is where I'm at now. This is what I want. What do I need to fix? Are there things that I need to look at? And then when you look at, the next part of the assessment as far as dating and finding your mate,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Then you've already done the internal work,
Yes.
right? The personal stuff. And there it is, right? You've asked yourself all the hard questions. And not only that, about who you want to be with. And you had to be, no one's reading it but you.
So, and God, that's how I felt. I felt
Mhm.
like God knew what I wrote down and was like, let's get this guy to say all those things and then just sent him in the room. It does.
Right.
You know how cool that is? Like,
Right.
how did you know I was thinking the same exact thing?
Exactly.
And it just gives you better confirmation. And then you don't feel like you have to rush anything.
Right.
I've never felt this much like peace talking to someone because there's always this anxiety and I don't know where it comes from.
Mhm.
When you're talking to someone, and maybe that's the sign that you shouldn't be talking to them. It's like this fear, anxiety, worry, stress.
Mhm.
I don't feel any of that talking to this person. There's no rush. There's no finish line to get to. It's like we're like, oh, I like what you like. You
Mhm.
like what I like. And we have physical goals that make it like easier to be around each other and meet visions together.
So you guys have already, within your dating process, you have already set couples goals.
Yeah, without knowing. I mean, because for me and him and for him, it wasn't like we met and became a couple. It was like, hey, this is my goals right now.
Mhm.
I want to flip more houses. I want to invest in more houses. Oh, that's what I'm trying to do.
Right.
So that's where we met, and that common vision is what helped us get to know each other until we're like, how do we keep each other around in a different capacity, So that is more valuable. But that couple you introduced me to,
Yes.
that's into
and I'm going to call them
insurance.
out. Yeah.
You want to call them out?
Insurance, real estate. She's an attorney.
Yeah.
Sabine and Jacques.
Yes.
They're so beautiful.
So amazing.
They are just, we know some really beautiful people, you know what I mean? But they are just truly just supremely beautiful people who are in this world, and they're, it's like their goal is to like sprinkle stardust on people as they come across them.
And that's how I feel because I have only had one intimate conversation with both of them, and they gave me the pleasure of sharing their testimony and their relationship and how she pursued working with him in real estate, and their mission was to get into homes. And after they did a couple really successful deals and saw the fruitfulness of their relationship, even before romance, they noticed, you might be my soulmate. You might be someone I'm here to do amazing works with on the earth. And that's what I consider someone to be my soulmate for. Like, not just for love and for children.
Right.
I want to build a legacy and something that will remain when I pass, because I don't know my great-great-great-grandparents because they didn't leave anything substantial and impactful. And that's not something that I wish to have repeat in my life. So when I met them, and they said that they vetted each other in that way, and then the fruitfulness first, that was like my immediate mission, was how do I attract someone who's going to have a bigger vision and mission. So, like, for example, if I have a disagreement with the person I'm dating, we talk about it. We're very unemotional. We're very inquisitive to learn each other's parts and points of view. We'll pray on a situation if we get very frustrated with it together. And then after everything, we look at each other. And even, like, God will do things. Because even if we're in the middle of a disagreement, one of our deals will just call us, or something will happen that's bigger than both of us.
Right.
And now we have to immediately table the issue. Like, you know what? Is this worth ruining the vibration for this deal that just called us?
Right.
Or do we have things to do right now? Like, we have things to do right now. So let's just table our emotions. And then after that, you realize the emotions were fickle.
Yes.
They didn't have any grounding, any standing. And the only thing that matters is the vision that we're building.
Right.
And I don't know. I've never had an interaction like this, to be honest. So the show has helped me in that way.
Which is
so many ways.
We'll probably keep asking you questions about him and have him on the show at some point. I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, we have to play the date or dare cards.
Yes.
I've been bragging about them to him, and
Yes.
because him and I talk so often, he wants something challenging. So
we can challenge him.
You guys might
I've
see
got
the
a
date
deck
or
at
dare
the house
cards.
I can give you.
Soon come, you guys. Stay tuned. But yeah, I appreciate both you and OG and Gigi, right? OG and Gigi, for just teaching me so much, because the rapid return on this investment has been amazing.
Awesome.
For
That's
me,
amazing.
spiritually. So I'm really happy. Yeah, I love
amazing.
you guys. Yeah.
Okay. Guys, listen, I just want to tell you that we are in an amazing space in downtown West Palm Beach called Venture X. So you'll see people walking back and forth. Like, don't freak out. And the gentleman that was back there, he was trying so hard not to make noise. So I just,
Thank you, Venture X, for letting us use this
Absolutely.
amazing office space. I have an office here. If you would like an office here, please contact me, Cerina Spence, on all platforms. But this is a great place. So I'm just really thankful that our sponsor today, Venture X, let us
shoot here, right?
And all my fellow coworkers and office owners here for being here. So yeah.
Awesome. All right. So I don't have very many more questions for you. Let me ask you this. All right. So you get like access to OG and I, and most people don't have.
Yeah.
What didn't you know about us that you know now?
The story of how you guys met. The serendipity of that, and like the way it happened at the story, which I think we need to have an episode about the story.
We'll have an
honest.
episode about us.
I just love that story. I love probably not the first date, but one of the dates he told me about that he kind of tested you and you passed that test. I love those little anecdotes and those stories. I also, what else do I feel like I learned more than anything? I learned how you both communicate to each other, and I got to see it up close. And I've never seen that before, and I think it taught me how to be more feminine from you, because you surrender a lot to Pops, and you'll just let him, be the leader. And
she was going to say the C word, y'all. She was going to say control.
Yeah, let him control, but I'll say the leader, which is more productive. And that's peaceful for me, because I even said it to the person I'm dating, like when we first met, I was like, I'm looking for a man that I can trust to be the man, so I can be the woman for once. Because when you run a business, like, you're the leader. You're not man or woman, but you're the leader. So you always feel this pressure to do the right thing and make the decisions.
Right.
And I'm like, if I'm going to be with someone and I'm the woman, let me be at peace sometimes. You take the reins, you be the man, because I like seeing Tanya be able to surrender to her husband. And I like that JC will go above and beyond to do manly, masculine things that actually add value. You know what I mean?
Right.
So right then and there, the interaction just helps me kind of emulate. Because there's something that she says to JC all the time, which is like, I know you brought it to God first. And now in my relationship, I say the same thing when I don't actually want to have a deep conversation about my view about it. I'd be like, yeah, you brought it to God first, right? What did he say? And then it's like, oh, yes, I am the leader. Let me go figure this. It just gives him all the power again
Mhm.
and lets him make that executive decision and choose from a higher place of if God ordained this or not.
Right.
And I learned that from you guys. So I think it's more about the interactions. Because Love and Hip Hop taught me opposite interactions, right? So now I get to see like some more balanced interactions.
Right.
So,
There's a freedom. There's an absolute freedom in one, trusting that your mate can make decisions.
Trust.
Right. And two, trusting yourself to be in surrender to that. It's freeing.
It's different. It's different than anything I've ever experienced in my life. So I'm very happy for that. I feel blessed, you guys. Please tune into the last season episodes. You can catch up and you can learn all the things that I had the pleasure of learning. It's absolutely free. There's nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Right.
Yeah, everything to gain. So
and as you know, we put a ton of free stuff out on our site, you know, and it's valuable. Like we really use the stuff that we put out there.
yes.
Like these are things that helped us to grow and to stay together through, you know, some like really rough things. So it's been pretty amazing.
I think as the executive producer, I'm going to push both of you to offer some virtual experiences for people like myself who want someone to talk to about their assessment, their vetting assessment, their actual assessment, and just get some feedback, because I get to talk to you guys and have feedback all the time.
Right.
And that helps me just grow and expand based on the free resources. But yeah, I think we should do some virtual stuff.
I agree. As a matter of fact, the most recent thing we did was the goal setting books. And I'm working with someone now who, like, she was like, look, I just need some time with you to just walk me through the first set of goals. And to walk through that first set and just give her the intent behind why you're asking yourself these questions and why it's even important to look at these different areas of your life. Like it's kind of been enriching for me too, because now I'm able to like have an interaction, a
feedback.
connection.
Yeah, and you guys
Absolutely.
learn as to where the pain points are. I think you listen to me as a millennial, if I say child, but as a millennial, when we were producing the show and hitting all the pain points that my age group might be going through.
Right.
And so we were very intentional last season to basically use me as a guinea pig, and I think we did a good job. But I feel blessed. Don't lie, y'all. And hopefully you guys will see my life level up more and more. But honestly, I feel blessed, and I feel like I've learned how to communicate with my family, my friends, and just put myself in a better place with boundaries.
Awesome.
Feels really good. So thank you so
You
much.
are so welcome.
I love you guys.
One last question for you. What did you expect me to ask you sitting on this couch that I didn't ask?
About my past relationships and whatever trauma I may have like overcame in this.
Well,
you know,
in this moment, is there stuff that you want to share about that?
I mean, you didn't ask, but I think I touched on some of the things subconsciously by talking about your self-worth and your self-image. And my personal journey is, how can I separate my self-worth from how I allow people to actively treat me when I know I'm the only person that has that control. You have to become like your own parent now. You know, your parents are no longer, especially when you're in your 20s, you're not a child or 4-year-old that's being protected by your parents anymore. So now you have to parent yourself. So when someone disrespects you or you're in a bad situation mentally, emotionally, your soul has to be the parent for yourself. And that to me is self-image. Okay. You know, saying, no, Cerina's amazing. You can't do this to her. Exactly. Because who else is going to say it if you don't say it? Right? And that's what I've learned through learning about myself in this process and what I deserve and what I want. You know? So yeah.
That is excellent.
That's what I'll say about the past. I learned that. Right?
Well, and that's what our past is for, everyone. Our past, it's really just lessons learned. Like, we can call it trauma. We can call it like whatever happened. It's just lessons learned, right? And we have the ability to start every day over and say, I'm not accepting that anymore. Like, that is not going to be part of my story anymore. I'm going to be different. And if I'm going to be different, like, the next generation will be different. And that next generation, like she mentioned, great grandparents.
Yeah.
Like we want to be those great grandparents that, like, you know, we're gone and like we've got our little great grandchildren, you know, looking at old episodes of the Oji and Gigi show, or reading books that we wrote, or playing card games that we're creating for kids. Like, there's so much stuff that you can do. Like, we are all given so many gifts, you guys. And the Bible tells us there's a story where, you know, these people have their talents, right? They're given their talents, and they are supposed to go out and it's not even talents. I'm sorry. They're given money, and some invest it, some you know, they bring it, right. Mm-hmm. And when you bury it, think about taking your talent and burying it. You're not necessarily physically burying it, right? You can't physically bury a talent or a gift. But if you don't use it, if you suppress it, if you allow someone else's lies about you telling you you're not worth it, or your self-image, or trying to damage your self-esteem, or trying to keep you from who you can become, one, you are betraying yourself and doing yourself a disservice, and two, it doesn't serve you. There's no room for you to just live small. Live as big as you want to live life as large as you want to live. Embrace everything that you've been given and do the thing.
Amen. I totally agree. So
I mean, like, I watch you and I think that you're so amazing. You know so much. You're inquisitive about everything. I love that. I love that. And you don't hide your talents.
Thank you.
Right?
For you guys who do know me, you know, if I feel compelled that I can add value to something, I'm going to do it, because I'm not going to leave this earth with everything inside of me. And like I said, my fear is to be forgotten. Mm-hmm. And, you know, if I can't be remembered for something great, or my great grandchildren can't be like, Grandma Cerina did this. This is why we live the life we live today, because she did that. That's like my vision right now. So I have to heal quick. I have to learn fast. I have to implement what I learned.
Right.
So I can thrive.
Right.
That's
Understood.
where I'm at. Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for tuning in tonight to the Oji and Gigi show. Thank you, Cerina, for taking your spot on the couch and for sharing what you've learned, and kind of just being so transparent and so authentic and being so you.
Well, thanks for having me, and thanks for doing this show, because I genuinely look at my life right now and I think, like, what if I didn't learn all this? Or what if I wasn't receptive to this during these last few months? Like, I don't even know. I changed so much. So thank you.
You are so welcome.
Oh, yeah. Wait. Let's do that. Yes, guys.
So OG is behind the scenes today. And, like, you guys, he's been amazing. And he's, you know, you can't see him bowing, but he's bowing. And so this is Gigi. And this has been Life Radically Redefined. And guys, just be blessed and be a blessing.